Hi, I'm Catherine Dean. I'm the library cataloger and system administrator, and today I'll be going over some course reading strategies for you. So first of all, I'd just like to ask, why do we read? Can you take a few moments to think about some reasons that we read? Some things you might have come up with might include enjoyment, for escape, out of curiosity, for learning. We might read to solve a mystery if we're reading a detective novel, or to gain information, or we might read to gain a better understanding of others. And so, how does this apply to you as a college student? So, thinking about why we're here at college, we're here to earn a degree. And earning a degree leads to being able to be in a career. And we think of it in this really straight, direct way. We need a degree in order to start our career. But really, it's not that simple. The degree implies that we have gained the skills and knowledge needed to be successful in our career. And kind of undergirding the process of gaining that skills and knowledge are our past experiences, our limits, our interests, and our support system, which impacts our journey to gaining skills and knowledge. And reading is just one of the ways that we gain those skills and knowledge that we need to be successful in our careers. So, reading for learning is what we're talking about today. And you might be thinking to yourself, reading is just reading. There's not really a strategy to it. And so, let's think for a second about how we read, or the reading process. If we look at this symbol, it's a Japanese kanji symbol. It might not mean a lot to most of us. We can't interpret it. But then if we look at the English translation and Roman transliteration of the same word, love, we can kind of begin to see the process behind reading. We recognize the letters that we've memorized. The letters are associated with sounds, and when you join those letters and sounds together, it makes a word, and that word conveys a meaning. So for each and every word we read, we're breaking down all those things and creating a greater meaning through sentences and paragraphs and books. So there is kind of a strategy to reading. And there are two different ways we can do it. We can do it passively. A lot of information is pushed to us through our emails. We get text messages, watching TV or the news, or just getting news notices on our phones. And if you look at these two people that are texting over here on the left, you can see that their body posture is just sort of relaxed and calm. So that's passive consumption and passive reading. But active reading looks a little bit more like this crazy meme guy, crazy conspiracy theory. He's been reading all these documents on the bulletin board, and you can tell that he's done so because he's making marks on the papers, he's making connections between different documents, and he's making notes. And so he might look a little crazy, and sometimes actively reading might make you feel a little crazy, but these are the kind of connections we should be making while we're reading. So, to start off with our reading strategies, there's a pre-reading phase. The first thing you should do is review your course objectives, and they'll be in your syllabus. A lot of times we might just sort of overlook those course objectives, but they are the key details that you need to learn and master in order to be successful in a class, so they're really important. And if you keep those in mind when you're reading, you'll get more out of it. Also, scan the chapter headings to get an idea of what's coming. Review your assignment or questions so you kind of can be preparing your answers as you read, and be familiar with the textbook structure and contents. So what kind of information is in your textbooks? Of course, we all will naturally think of the main bulk of the content or the big paragraphs that we have to read that are sometimes we're just slogging through them. But within those paragraphs or next to them, sometimes we'll have highlighted facts. You may have vocabulary inside the textbook. It might be at the end of the chapter, it might be interspersed between paragraphs, or there might even be a full glossary at the end of the book. There could be case studies, and sometimes I know those little highlighted boxes that are off to the side in the books are things we skip over is not important, but those really bring into perspective how the theory goes into practice. There might be other kinds of examples. You might see theories, and they might be in the form of a model or some kind of flow chart. Those illustrate the relationships between different components. You might see tables or graphs, and similar to the case studies, they kind of show in practice what you're reading about. You might see statistics that could be surprising or shocking or give you a good perspective on whatever you're reading. There might also be reviews or summaries at the end of the chapter. These are really good for reviewing after you finish the reading. And then there might also be bibliographies. So this is going to be a list of other resources. It might be the list of resources that the textbook writer used to compile the chapter, or it might just be extended readings. Either way, if you're interested in the topic or if you didn't fully understand the topic, this is a good place to start to learn more about it. So before you start reading, make sure to gather all the tools you'll need and have them ready so you don't have any interruptions. You might need a highlighter, a pencil, a pen, sticky notes or tabs, a notebook, a dictionary, and a bookmark if you want. And if you don't write in your textbook because you don't own it or you just don't want to, keep some paper next to you for taking notes. Part of the reading process is writing. So if you write while you're reading, it reinforces what you're reading and you learn it better. But keep in mind to take notes judiciously. Don't just highlight everything on the page. I'm sure we've all seen those examples and sometimes been that person. But the purpose of highlighting is to put a focus on the key points so that you can return to them later and review them. If you highlight everything, that means you have to review everything. Everything is of equal importance. But there are going to be some sentences or sections that are of greater importance than others. So just be careful and kind of keep those course objectives in mind while you're highlighting or taking notes. So generally, while you do want to avoid interruptions, there are a few exceptions, and that's if there's a word you don't recognize. Go ahead and take a moment to look it up. The more you look up these terms, the more familiar you'll get with them, and the more fluently you'll read. Also, if there's a sentence or a phrase you don't understand, reread the sentence. And if that doesn't help, read the sentence before and after the one that's giving you trouble, and you can kind of expand outward both directions that way until you understand the context better. And so after you've done your pre-reading and you've done your reading, and now there's a post-reading phase. So what you'll want to do is review any notes you've taken, the highlights, the notes in the margins, notes on the notebook paper that you took. Summarize to yourself or to a partner what you learned while reading. This doesn't have to be formal, it could just be something quick. And then if you have time, reread the chapter. So of course, all these pre-reading and post-reading tips have been for in an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world. And just like we saw on that earlier slide, we've got, family members and needs and interests and limits that are affecting our ability to complete our homework. So if you're in a pinch, and I don't recommend this for all the time, it's not a way to get out of doing your homework. But if you're in a pinch and you need to get by, without having enough time to complete the reading, read the full introduction, the full conclusion, and at least the first sentence of each paragraph. That should at least give you a starting point so that you can participate in the class discussion. And then when you have time, go back and do the full reading. So for extra practice, some things you can do are reading for fun. Like I said earlier, the more you read, the better you'll get at it, and the more enjoyable it'll be, even if it's a really dry, really thick chemistry textbook that's giving you the blues. Also, you could listen to audiobooks. It's been shown that listening to someone reading can improve your own reading comprehension no matter what age you are. So listening to audiobooks isn't just for kids, and having someone read to you is not just for kids. It can help adults too. And also watch TV with subtitles on. If you need to de-stress and watch TV anyway, you might as well use it to your advantage and just sort of passively read along while you're watching. And so I won't do this peer reading activity since this is a recording, but one thing you could do is if you've got a classmate or a friend that's in the same class as you, you could do the reading together and then take some time to quiz each other on it. And these are the resources I used to put together this presentation. And thank you for taking the time to listen to it. If you need to contact me, you can reach me at cdean@susla.edu or the phone number listed here. Happy studies!